So we're heading into week 10, and I know you need tight end help, but these are 5 guys that won't help you this week. And the first guy is Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. Andrews, he's just not getting it going this season. He's a guy that I told you to sell this week as well, and it's just not getting it going. He's touchdown dependent, and now in his last 3 weeks, it's been a horrible fantasy outings for Mark Andrews. In week 6, he had 2 catches, 21 yards. Week 8, 3 catches, 32 yards. And then last week versus the Colts, 3 catches for 22 yards. So Mark Andrews, the targets aren't there either. Lamar Jackson's not looking for him. It's just run now for that Raven offense. And Mark Andrews, he's not going to do it again this week. You know, Bill Belichick's going to zero in on him and Jackson and let the other guys try to beat him. Plus the Patriots, they give up the least amount of fantasy points to tight ends. So Mark Andrews in a bad matchup, he's not getting the volume either. Bench him. The second guy I'm benching at tight end this week's Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. I know I mentioned in another video, Fant, he's just not getting staying healthy or getting healthy at all. And once again, he went down a little with an ankle injury versus the Atlanta Falcons last week. So Noah Fant this week, he's got a decent matchup versus Vegas, but I don't know if he's even going to play or what. And if he does, can he last the whole game? Fant, when he plays and he's 100%, he's a good tight end and a matchup nightmare for linebackers. But I just can't trust this guy. I could find better guys on the wire, or maybe you drafted 2 tight ends or whatever the deal is. But Fant, I can't trust him, and I just can't play him this week. So he's the second guy I'm going to bench. The third guy is Jonnu Smith of the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans tight end here, he just hasn't got the job done. I know this week he had a touchdown and 11 fantasy points, but that was all in 2 plays. It was a lucky game for Smith this week. 2 targets for 2 catches, the 32 yards and a touchdown for 11 fantasy points. And Smith, it was going to be either a goose egg or another 1-point fantasy day for him. So now, without that touchdown, Smith in his last 4 fantasy games, his highest point mark would have been 5.5 points this week. So Jonnu Smith this week's got a tough matchup versus Indianapolis that gives up the second least fantasy points to tight ends. And like I said, the offense, it's going to go around Derrick Henry again. This is what they do, the Titans, in the later part of the season with the winter here. They're going to ride Henry. Tannehill, they're going to only let him throw the ball, I think, 15, 20 times. Rely on the defense. That's what we saw in the playoffs. And that's what we saw the Titans do last week versus the Chicago Bears. So Jonnu Smith, he's a guy I'm staying away from because last week was a fluky performance. And the fourth guy I'm benching at tight end this week, Jared Cook of the New Orleans Saints. Cook last week, he fumbled the ball near the end zone, or he would have had a touchdown. But Cook now, he like I said, he's 4th or 5th fiddle over there. With Michael Thomas, Sanders back, Kamara, Taysom Hill, he's getting more work in gadget roles than him. So Hill, he only had 3 targets for 30 yards. And like I said, he fumbled that ball at the 1-yard line. You saw other guys like Adam Trautman and Josh Hill, the other tight ends, get the touchdown. So Drew Brees spreading that ball out all over the field. And Cook, I don't think he's going to be reliable or much of a factor. He could have a couple weeks here and there at double digits. But this week versus San Francisco, I just don't see it. San Francisco gives up the 6th least fantasy points to tight ends. And this game might be a blowout anyway early, where the Saints in the second half don't throw the ball at all. So bench Jared Cook. And the 5th and final guy is a guy I've been riding the wave with a lot, is Logan Thomas. But Thomas, he fizzled out last week versus the Giants in a game where I said to start him. He only had 3 catches for 28 yards. And the other bad news for him is Kyle Allen out for the year after that gruesome ankle injury versus the Giants. And now Alex Smith, he's more of an underneath check down guy, where Thomas is more of a seam and stretch the field tight end. So I don't think he's going to get much targets or the ball that much. So I think Thomas is a droppable candidate also heading into the week 10. And definitely I'm going to put him on the bench. That's 5 tight ends I'm benching heading into week 10.